This seminar is brought to you today by the Paleontological Association. My name is Orla, I'm the ERC officer. My co-host today is our new diversity officer, Nydia, who's also here. She's going to be managing the chat and the Q&A and helping out with questions and all that as well. So welcome, Nydia. Welcome to your first PALAS webinar as well. So bear with me and I'm going to share my screen and we'll get started. So let me just fully share the screen here. Okay, so you should be able to see the screen here now. I'm going to put it all small here. So today's webinar is about the ERC Starting Grant. And again, welcome to our three panelists that we have here today, Dr. Anne-Claire Favre, Dr. Alexandra Hussein, and then also Dr. Sarah Valera Gonzalez. You're all three very welcome, and thank you so much for giving us your experiences and your questions. We are going to first of all talk about the actual grant itself. Sorry, I'll just reshare that again. So first of all, about the grant and the general concepts for those that don't know how this eligibility of the grant works. Firstly, researchers of any nationality can apply within 2 to 7 years of experience, postdoc experience after the completion of your PhD. Instead of the date now, slight rules have changed in the last year or so, which is instead of the date of the PhD award, it will now be the certified date of your PhD defense. So that will now be the official date that's taken into account for the 2 to 7 years. Eligibility of the grant can be extended for many reasons like maternity, paternity, illness, training, national disasters and asylum. So please check the ERC website, the ERC working program in particular, and the parental leave web pages for more information on the eligibility and the extension of your eligibility to the grant. And thirdly, applications can be made in any field of research, and they sort of operate on a bottom-up basis within the predetermined priorities. Then we move on to how the research can be conducted. It can be conducted in either a public or a private research organization known as the HI, so the host institution, where you can, the applicant doesn't necessarily already have to work within that institution, but it does need to be part of an EU member state or associated countries of the Horizon Europe programme. When it comes to this in particular, I know there's always lots of questions about how this works with the UK, for example. The European Commission and the United Kingdom, they've reached a political agreement on the UK's participation in Horizon Europe. And you can find more about the list of EU member states and associated countries also on the ERC webpage. There's a particular subheading of associated countries and a particular subheading of United Kingdom and where they stand on that. So applications for the ERC grant require just a single PI to submit the application on the behalf of the host institution where you would like to conduct the work. The PI does not need to be employed already, as I said, by the HI at the time of the proposal of the submission, but a mutual agreement and commitment are necessary if the proposal, of course, is successful. ERC grants support projects carried out by individual research who can employ researchers of any nationality as team members, and it is also possible to have one or more team members located in a non-European country for the duration of your ERC grant. They are awarded up to €1.5 million for a period of 5 years. And an additional €1 million can be sort of topped up or made available for startup costs of your research and moving from particularly a third country to an EU or associated country. And more details about the particulars of the award, top-ups for that starting grant can also be found on the webpage. And then lastly, ERC grant applications can only be submitted in response to a call for proposal, which means that currently the last proposal, the deadline of the last proposal was in November 2023. We're still awaiting to hear when the new proposal starts. There are yearly calls covering all the scientific fields. Just for an idea of not to veer people away from applying, of course, to this grant, but a total, say, for last year, for the 2024 ERC Starting Grant, there was 3,474 proposals made into the previous calls. So sometime this year, we'll hear about the call for proposals for ERC Starting Grant 2025. Which you can find everything about that also on their website. Again, a very welcome to all the three panelists that we have here. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now and have our panelists talk to us more in detail about their own experiences with the ERC grant. So I'm looking at my screen here, and I'm happy to help. I'm happy for anyone really who would like to start off. I'm looking at maybe Sarah, you're over here on my right, if you would like to start off. If you have slides, you should be able to share them now. And if you want to maybe talk for up to 10 minutes, if you want 5 to 10 minutes on your experiences, that would be fantastic.
Okay, I have some very ugly slides. You can see them? Yeah. So I didn't have a lot of time, but I can talk and we can discuss later and answer any questions or anything. So the first thing that I want to say to all of you that you are listening here is allow yourself to do it, because I think we are our first enemy is ourselves. So this is a very nice opportunity also to think without limits, like what you want to do if you had all the money in the world. And this is a very nice experience to do it. And even if you don't get it, you make the effort to put you in this position. And I am sure that it's going to be a good thing for you. Also to focus your research in the future or something like that. So the first thing is try it. People, try it, really. About the timing and everything, I would suggest, but this is depending on each of you, at least 1 month for reading, because you need to have like a really nice context, like what are you doing, which things are done, and try to not forget some old papers or something. Like allow yourself to read, and this is also super nice, and normally we don't do these things. Plus at least 2 months for writing. For doing the things in a relaxed way. You can, this is also depending on your timing, everything. So we all have a lot of things to do. So I don't know if you have 3 months for this, but luckily you have, and you can spend time and also enjoy the process, not get super stressed in writing and in doing all these things. The summary for me is B1, you have 2 parts. B1 is what you want to do and why this is important, and B2 is how you are going to do this. So for B1, people can be, the people that is going to read these 5 pages are people that maybe they are not even biologists or paleontologists, so you need to avoid jargon. Do it as simple as possible. Like nature is important, biodiversity is important, like this kind of way to talk. You need to put in context, like this is like if you want to start a company and you need to sell the idea. So think like this is important, what things have been done in this field, and why this is super groundbreaking, amazing, and what are the outputs of, like try to make the effort so they don't need to understand. You explain why this is important, okay? Because I feel like some people think like everybody knows about their field and why this is important, and this is not the case. So you need to really say the things and be super specific. And the B2 is 15 pages of how you do the things. So this is about how many people, we are going to do field work, everything. We need a lab, we need these kind of things, we need to buy these things. So this is agenda, like conferences. Like don't say we're going to a conference, like we're going to go to this conference at that time. Like try to really be very precise in what is your plan. And this is like a Sudoku, like, okay, I am putting this here or there or how. And you need to plan 5 years of work that is really time consuming. You're going to invest a lot of time in who is doing what and trying to make sense. Also, you need to identify all the potential risks, like because in this kind of grants, they ask you to push the boundaries of the knowledge, no? So if you shouldn't do like, okay, I am going to do this a survey of this lake, and I am going now to do like 500 lakes. This is not the case. So you need to like, this is important. These two ideas are going to make something different. And normally you have something that you don't know if it's going to work or not. And you need to identify, okay, if this is not working, I have this plan B that is going to work like that, like that. And this is it. So this is it. Maybe it sounds easy. It is, but it is time. So you need time for really, for all these things. It is not complex. It's just you need to sit, read, and do it. So it's going to be, even if you have the idea. I have a lot of friends that they were applying for these things, and at the end of the process, it's like, phew, they end up super tired because it's really, even if you know what you're going to do, you need a lot of time to put everything in words and explain everything. And try to finish earlier, so at least you have people reviewing it. I had many people and people outside of my field, even a friend that he is a physicist. So it's not like he didn't know really well the thing, but he was able to provide me really nice feedback if this is, I don't know, for everybody understandable. So this is nice. Like you have time at least to not finish the last day and send it is better. But you can have the time or not. This is extra luxurious thing to. Again, as Olga was saying, this is more or less 7 years, and it was 18 months per kid for mothers in the past. I was checking, there is a lot of women here, so if you plan to have a baby or something like that, it's 8 months. It was 18 months per kid, and for the fathers, it was the paternity leave. So you need to certify that I was not working in this period of time. And you don't need a science for I didn't have a science when I applied for this, and also I don't have a science now. So the only requirement is you know your job. So you know how to publish things, you know your field, you know whatever you are saying you're going to do, you understand your job, okay? But you don't need to be like a, I don't know, all science CV. So this was my CV when I was applying. I think this is important for you to understand more or less where, but this is an example. We are all different, so don't also compare like, but at least you have an example. This was me. Okay, so like 22 papers as first author, this kind of thing. So I was involved in some projects. I was PI of really short money projects, like in Germany. And I was supervising things, people, and I had 2 kids, and my life was a mess. This is, a ver, sorry. So I was like successful. Career was a mess. Like I was a lot struggling for when I was doing the PhD. Then I was like really long postdoc. I had several unemployment moments. So I think all of us, you are going to have different things, and so don't be scared of all these things. And I was moving a lot because of the postdocs. And I guess you are also moving a lot because the normal thing now is 2 years of postdoc and then another place and then another place. So at least this was like that some years ago. I don't know if this is better. And this is a picture, a summary of my career also for you to understand. So I was really, from maybe 2014 or something like that, I was thinking about, okay, maybe I should apply for these things, but understand that here I was in Spain, then in the Czech Republic, then in Spain again, then in Berlin, and in the middle I have the baby, so this was a mess. And I had like a maternity leave and everything. So I put the baby in the kindergarten and then I had 2 months and I was like going like crazy. I did the application and applied it. And luckily I got it. So yeah, so this was it. And take care also of yourselves, of burnout, mental craziness in science, because moving can be very stressful and fun, but also stressful. So yeah, take care in this process. Okay, that's it. I think. Hope this is helpful. Yeah. And now I need to stop sharing 1 second.
That was really very good. Thank you so much. There is so much useful information. I always like when someone gives the entire overview of the mess and the chaos of applying and, you know, the raw sort of academic process of having to move all the time and all these things. It's really appreciated. So thank you so much. For everyone here that's in attendance, if there's questions that are straight in your mind now, please put them in the Q&A. And while you're doing that, we're going to move on to our next panelist speaker, and we'll do all the talks in a row and then take all the questions at the end so we can get feedback from all three of our speakers. So next up, I guess I'm looking at the thing here. Anne Claire, would you mind speaking next?
Yeah, sure.
So again, 5-10 minutes of your time would be fantastic. So take it away.
So yeah, I don't have any PowerPoint, but I will just talk about my experience. And that was a really nice introduction by Sarah. Thanks for that. So the only thing that was maybe missing concerning the fact about the important thing in the CV is the fact that you need to have publication without your PhD supervisor. Then for all the other type of things, I think what you did, Sarah, was really complete and nice overview of what you need to apply for an ERC. Then concerning my case, so I think there is no magic recipe concerning obtaining an ERC. So basically, one thing that can be important is to follow the training that you can have, because depending when you are applying or where you are applying in different type of university or institute, you can follow this type of training that are made by people from the European Commission and that are pretty useful. Because from 1 year to another, it's changing what they want in the different parts. And I was sitting in most of them, they are free. So the other type of thing to think about is where you will apply, because depending on that, you can get in touch with people from the administration of the university, and they are really helping you for calculating your budget. And you can also know what can be the offer. So for example, when I was applying to the ERC, first I wanted to apply at the University of Zurich. And they were telling me that they will pay for my salary and other type of thing. And 2 weeks before submitting the project, finally, they told me that they won't pay for the salary, meaning that the project was not doable at the University of Zurich. And I had to apply in another university, and I decided to apply in Montpellier. So it's the type of thing that you need to think about. And even if you do it in advance, sometimes you can have some really bad news at the last minute, and it can be pretty stressful. So just be sure about everything and try to have some feedback place where you can apply if something is not working out, because basically, depending where you go, the budget will be really cut off. So basically in Switzerland, for example, paying a team is really expensive in comparison to France, where basically you can hire an army for nearly nothing. So depending on the salary and other type of thingy, your project will be really different. And if you do end up with a project that is cut off because it needs to be high risk, high gain too, then if it's looking like a postdoc of 2 years, I think it might not work. Then depending on how you write your project, so I don't know, but I was asking a lot of people that were getting an ERC to give me their project to have an idea of how they were writing. And honestly, Some were really oriented methodology, other ones were more oriented depending on the taxon or the model system. Other ones were more about research question, and I'm a person that is more about research question. And basically it started for me while I was doing a study that did end up being my pilot study for my project, that was getting me really excited. And I did end up writing this ERC just after the results that I obtained with this study. And then at the beginning, for the high risk part, I really wanted to do something that I was not doing at all. But the thing is that I did end up with collaborators that were telling me that at this time, what I wanted to do is impossible. So it might be possible in 10 years, but so basically I wanted to do some transcriptomics in amphibians. And the thing is that they have a gigantic genome and you cannot do that. So I did end up changing the last part of the first project that I was writing and doing something that I know that I will be able to supervise myself, even if I'm not trained on it. So, and it will be also more doable than what I wanted to do at the beginning. But yeah, it's the type of thing that it's really important to talk about it in advance. As was saying Sarah, it's taking a lot of time, this type of thing. So, and even if you have the time, it's taking more time than what you are expecting. It's really important to ask feedback from other people from different fields. So basically send it to as many possible people that can read it and tell you if they understand everything, because it really needs to be clear. The first step is going in the end of a panel of people that are all working in biology, but not in your field for most of them. So you really need to have your project that is understood by people that are doing, I don't know, but modeling or population genetics, or really type of things that you are not doing at all. And if the project is clear for them, you have a big chance to go to the second step. And what is also helping is to start to write the long project, because it's a way easier to shorten a project than to add on it. So it's what at least it's what I was doing. Then yeah, so get in touch with the institute, the department, or the university, see what can they offer, or they can help you for the budget. And for the rest, ask people around you if they can provide you example, if they can read it. And then if you are going through the next step, again, it's a lot of work, a lot of preparation, make a lot of rehearsal for the interview, and ask a lot of different type of people that are doing different type of things, to be sure that you will have all the type of question that you might end up during the interview. So I don't know if you plan to do again this type of thing a little bit later when it will be the time for the interview process, because the interview is also really time consuming, basically. So you really need to prepare and to have a PowerPoint that is 10 minutes and to which everything is going smoothly, that is beautiful to look at, and then concerning the question, be ready for any type of question. So ask as many people that are specialists and non-specialists again. And then what I was doing is basically I was writing down all the questions that people were asking me during my rehearsal for the interview. And then I was replying. So I think I have maybe a document that is about 30 pages of the different type of questions that I would during my rehearsal interview, and also reply to it. And then I was contacting again the people that were asking me this question to see if my reply were convincing or not. But yeah, it's a lot of work. It's a way more than what you are expecting, but it's really worth it. If you are not playing, you are not winning. So if you have a dream project, just go for it. And until that you already have published without your PhD supervisor and you are in the right timing, just do it as soon as possible, I would say. Because then you can get feedback and do it again. I was applying the last year and I was lucky to get it, because it's also a question of being lucky, this type of thing. So if you do end up with reviewers that really like what you are doing, I think it's helping a lot. But yeah, I don't know if you have any other type of question that we can reply to it, but it's all about my experience.
Thank you so much, Anne-Claire. I think that really helps get an overview as well of things like, as you touched on, I'm sure there'll be questions about it, but things like the budget I think it's a really important part and can be a very scary thing, I think, to approach if you've never done one before. And the idea as well of obviously publishing without your supervisors as well. So from that regard, it is good to have maybe a bit of distance. Obviously, you have to be 2 years outside of your PhD anyway, but to make sure that you are widening your net of collaborators as you go during your postdoc to in order to kind of prepare for these larger grants, I think is really important. So we'll get back to those points in a minute, and I'm going to let Alexandra, hi. I'm going to let you share your screen if you want to, or if you're just talking.
No, I will talk without like Anne-Claire without the screen. But
yeah,
the girls have said a lot, so I have nothing left to say.
Sure, no, it's more just to get everyone's individual experiences. So start from the start.
Yeah, but so for me, I had my PhD in 2009, and I got the ERC in 2016. In between, I also had kids, and so in fact, I would never I'd applied to a PhD to an ERC. So like Sarah said, we need to dare apply, and it's only because the head of my lab really told me to apply that I decided that I might try. But again, I thought it was more like an exercise that I could try to learn how to greatly write a project, that through all the trainings that Anne-Claire mentioned, you could indeed really improve your way of writing a grant application, know what you needed to do or not, because sometimes it's only small word that can make a difference between showing that your application is going to be very well judged or not. And so these trainings are really great. And so I was surprised when I got it, but very happy, of course. And so even Anne-Claire said that it's a lot of work, and I totally agree that really we need to do a lot of work for the writing of the project, but also for the preparation of the interview. But it's very enriching, and so of course you can think that if you don't get it, you are going to lose time for nothing. But it's really not for nothing. It's an excellent training, in addition to be possibly getting to a grant. But it's really an excellent training. And as was said, you don't need to have a Nature or a Science paper. I did not have high rank papers as well. And in fact, it's really what they said also during the trainings, in that you apply when you have the project that is ready. So it's not about, do I go because my curriculum vitae is like that or like that, but it's really, I have the project now and I want to apply for a grant, so I do it. And they also insisted on the fact that you needed to follow the path you had started to create. And so, as Anne-Claire said, you need to be independent from your supervisor and to have done some experience with other things, so that you are building a new profile thanks to the new elements and new combination. And then you take a shift in your research, but that's still logically linked to what you did before, so that you are credible for doing it correctly. And it seems to be a good advice that they gave us, because many people did it. And voilà. So yeah, so your project has to be great, but it has to be also logical, not something that is coming for nothing, just because. It's just to say that you're not, don't look for something fashion because you think that this is great and they are going to pay for it, but they can pay for something more boring, but it's more logical with you than with something you think it's fancy. About the panel and also about the timing of applying, I think it's important, as they say, to apply when you're ready, when you have your project, but don't apply if you are not ready. I mean, not if you are not mature enough in your curriculum vitae, but just if you have not spent time enough on your project, because then you will have a bad mark by the ERC, which can prevent you from applying the year after, etc. So take the time, because it requires time, and take it to apply with something you are happy about. About the preparation of the interview, again, we have rehearsals with different people that have been in panels before or something like that, that can be organized. And for me, I thought it was really great. And I had one comment of, because for us, for paleontology, we are more in the life sciences, usually, or it was my case. And so someone said, yes, it was very complicated when I applied for the ERC because I was in a jury with people that were really thinking differently. There was even a paleontologist. And so I thought, oh God, for us, it's the contrary. And so we will be the paleontologist and we will have only people not understanding. And also be very enthusiastic about your research, because there is nothing that can sell it better than you being very passionate about what you want to do. And you cannot convince someone if you do not convince yourself about the interest of it. And also don't think that when you are going to the interview, it's going to be something bad and they are really going to look for what's negative and to ask bad questions. In fact, the panel is here and had the comments from the external reviewers. And so they have taken all the negative comments on your research, and in fact you are here only to defend your project, and so they can ask a question that is linked to a negative comment, and then you answer, and it can delete the negative comments one by one. And so in fact the quicker you answer, the better it is, because you can try to delete several bad comments that were in your application. And so, as Anne-Claire said, try really to think about questions a long time in advance, and different types of questions, so that it helps you to answer very quickly and to try to be the more efficient as possible during this phase. And be honest in the answers, because in fact, I had one question that was very weird, and I thought, oh la la, what should I do in front? And I was honest with the answers, and I think it worked, because when we try to put some blah blah, then you lose all the trust on your project as well, and say, don't try to make things that are not true. And then when I got it, I thought I had never been PI, or I had been supervisor of PhD, but not PI. So it was really a fantastic experience to create a group and to try to input motivation about same questions, to make what I think was really fantastic experience is that you manage to have people in your group and everybody is interested into the results of the others. So that is extremely motivating, because their results is helpful for him and for her and for etc. And everybody can help each other. And the literature is useful for everyone as well. And so it can be a very stimulating moment, in fact, in the research, to have many people motivated around the same questions. So I thought it was really a fantastic experience. I think it offers also visibility and credibility in front of many people who are very into the hierarchy or stuff like that. And so it helps to increase your network of collaboration. And yeah, what else did I want to say? And so you can acquire a very big amount of data as compared to what you could usually do. Everything can go much faster. And so, as was said, you need also to be careful, because it can expand and you can have to handle many things and many people. And then sometimes just not possible because you are only one human. And so you need to try not to forget about that. And it's not because you have a big grant that you need to be the most extraordinary and just try to do a correct job, and it's okay, I think. And also, no, I think it's everything I wanted to say. And also really take advices of everybody before. Because even if you have a question that might look stupid, or you think, oh, this person, she or he has no experience, etc. In fact, the tiny comments, even like comments we can have sometimes in questions from kids that are the worst one about paleontology, or all the tiny comments for everybody else can, in fact, make you think about something you had not thought about. So try to take all of them. And now the only thing I can say is that sometimes it can be weird when it's over, because then you had this massive energy of everything being dynamic, and then you go back to normal situation, and it can be weird as well.
Alexandra, thank you so much. That was really, really useful information as well. And, you know, it's always a good opportunity, as you said, you touched on, you know, the idea that it's actually quite rare occurrences where you have so many people, so many moving parts, where everyone's involved in the research that you actually want to do. And it's sort of an exciting time too, because we're able to talk about our research and people are really interested to know what you think and what you're going to do with the money. So it can be quite a surprise afterwards, all of a sudden have the money, and then you have to go and do the work, and things start to quieten down to do what happens after, which is a question I will ask later on. Thank you, all three of you, for those brief introductions and explanations and experiences. It's really, really useful to start off the discussions. I'm going to hand over to my co-host Nydia, who has been looking at the Q&A, and we will open it up, and every question that comes in, we'll pose it to all three of you. All three of you have a chance to hone in and say something on the questions that are asked. So Nydia, I'll hand over to you.
Well, hi everyone. So thank you so much for the very interesting introduction and useful. So there is a few questions that came in. Some of them have already been answered by Sarah, but if any of the other two hosts wants to also give their opinion. So the first one that was answered is someone is asking, anonymous attendee is asking if you can apply for the ERC right after finishing your PhD or as you're finishing your PhD. So Sarah answered, you know, to check the rules. They might change, but they usually wait on the CVs, the experience of the people. So it's okay to be young. Do you have anything else to add to that, or will I continue to the next question?
So yeah, until that you are showing your independency, it's a really important part. If you are young but already independent, and depending on the rule of the ERC, yeah, you can apply.
Okay, thank you. So then the next question is, how important is the renown of the organization you're applying from, or you're applying to, I'm guessing. So yeah, does the success of the application have anything to do with the organization you're applying to? So Sarah said that not sure. The reviews that the project got was on the project itself. So I do have a question, like I have a follow-up question here. So I'm a Marie Curie Fellow, which is also from the Horizon Europe. And in my case, I applied twice. So the first year I got pretty good grade, but I didn't get in. And then the second year, the project was exactly the same, but I changed the institution from one very small to one really big, which is the one I'm on now. And in the second year I got it. So in my case, I think there was a lot of influence on the renown of the institution, but I'm not sure if it's the same for the ERC. Yeah.
Alexandra, go for it.
Yes, for the Marie Curie, it's very well found. We know that there is a stronger influence of the host institution, but for the ERC, it's really only about you and your project. And after, it has just to make sense when you do it, that you have everything that is available to do it correctly. But otherwise, you have money to buy it. But so I don't think it's very important. But maybe, Anne-Claire, you have something.
Okay.
Yeah, then for the ERC, you've got the panel that is changing every year. But you can find it. So, for example, this year there will be one panel, next year there will be another panel, and the year after that will be the same panel than this year, for example. So there is a big chance that every 2 years you find the same researcher in the panel. So it's important to check that, because the year that you are applying, you don't know who will be in the panel. But if you are looking 2 years before, there is a chance that most of the people that are in the panel will be there 2 years later. And then you can see who will be there and try to see at least the wordings that you can use for people to understand what you are writing for the short part. But yeah, as was saying Alexandra, so basically it's your project. It's not where you are applying, and you can move with it anyway. So for the ERC, I think there is no importance of that.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Just to complete what Anne-Claire was saying, for us, they told us it was very important to look for the panel members. And indeed, it's great to know who is going to be there, and you really see how far they are from your thematic of research. And well, sometimes Google Image are images with pictures that were 10 or 15 years ago, so it's not easy to recognize the people when they are in front of you. But sometimes it's great because you can understand better why this person is asking this question, and if this person is very far away from you, and indeed how to adapt. So it's very important to do that, to try to see who is going to be in the panel.
So would you do that before submitting your application, or would you do that already on the interview phase?
For the interview.
Okay. So the next question is about, it's a North African researcher asking if they could apply to for the ERC, and it was answered that yes, as long as you're going to a European center or an associated country, which I think that is set on the rules. Then is it possible to change host institution after you receive the grant? Sarah says that yes, that she did that. If you want to explain more on that, or if you want to leave it like that, then it's fine.
It's super easy. My impression is like the grant is for you and you can do whatever, and you can change at any point, at any time, and no explanation. And the place where you apply it, you just ask them like a document saying yes, and it's really, they are not, they cannot do anything like, okay, yeah, I am going to the other, this is it. So it's a nice moment also if you get the ERC, it's a nice moment for you for negotiating if you want to go to another place or whatever. So in my case, I wanted to go back to Spain. I was in Germany, and in the institution that I was, they were not offering that many things. So I was like, okay, let's check what I can do. So I was asking different places in Spain, like, okay, what are the options here? And yeah, and at that time, I think that you, depending on where you are going, but for me, I was asking a lot of space. I was asking like to have a very, very nice, to be spoiled, and they allowed us, so it was very nice. And it's super easy. And then if you want, I know people that change it in the last year, so that you can really do whatever. So the grant is for you, and also you can change what you said if it makes sense. Like, I cannot do this because now, I don't know, some people publish these things, so I don't need to repeat this. This is done. It's okay. So it's super flexible. For me, this grant is much more flexible than the Spanish grants that are more like you said, like you need to, and you have boxes for the budget, and you cannot spend this because you said this was for fieldwork. And in this, you can do whatever. You can change boxes. You can. So it's very nice. Really, yeah.
Yes, thank you for that. Next question refers to what you just said now. It was still asking about, is it possible to change the country, which we've seen that it is. So then about, the preparation for the proposal. So 1 month to read, 2 months to write the grant. Did any of you had a very clear idea of how the project was going to be, or did it change as you were preparing the proposal? So Sarah said that, yeah, it changed, had a general idea, but then it changed and shaped as the proposal was being written.
And
so, yeah,
for me, it changed, the project changed and the host changed. And at the end, the country changed too, because I did end up getting a permanent position in Switzerland, and Switzerland was kicked out of the European Commission. So for me, it was a nightmare to move it there, but I did end up doing it. And hopefully Switzerland will be back in the next year in the European Commission. But yeah, I was changing both project and host institution. So at the time of writing the project, as I was saying, I was first writing it for the University of Zurich, and I did end up applying at the University of Montpellier just 1 week before submitting. So I did contact them 2 weeks before, and I was submitting in advance, but yeah, it was pretty stressful. Because when you do realize that your budget is changing a lot and it's cutting by half what you are supposed to spend on your project, it's just not realizable. So I had to change everything at the last minute. And it was going pretty smoothly, but I do not recommend at all to do that. So if you can already have your institution and be sure that what they are saying to you is correct, it's way less stressful, and you do end up being able to submit without having to change everything and to contact people at the last minute, because you need to have the letter of the head of the institute, potentially the rector or the vice rector of science, meaning that these people are taking time to sign up this letter, and if they are not there, you do end up not being able to submit because you do not have this letter. So, but yeah, it's possible to do it.
Yeah, can I just say, fight for yourself. If something like that happen, do like Claire and fight for your rights. And yeah, it's very important. So now there is 5 questions that haven't been answered, so we're gonna answer
Yeah.
them live.
Yeah,
Sorry?
that sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah, so
There's if people want to put in their names as well, so we can put your name on the question, feel free to do so. So the first question that comes in that hasn't been answered is, how far in advance of the deadline in November did you contact your host institutions, and how did you initiate these conversations? E.g., did you communicate with a contact you already had, or did you establish a connection for this application loan? That's a very good question. So yeah, Anne-Claire, if you want to start off.
Yeah, depending where you are applying. So basically, they ask you to contact way in advance. So for example, in Switzerland, they ask you to contact them nearly 6 months in advance or more. So the call is not open. And basically, they are selecting the candidates that they allow to apply there. So I know that they are not the only one to do that. And it's really important to contact people early enough. Then in other places, they don't have so many people applying, so they don't care. They allow everybody to apply. But it's the type of thing that is important, because then you can also see how you can adjust your project depending on that. So even if this is your personal project, you can show that this is the perfect place to go because they have this research facility and other type of thing which can be important. But yeah, enough in advance is better. Then you can have some change at the last minute. So.
Sounds good. Does anybody else want to weigh in on that question?
Yeah, I want to say something. Like, for me, for instance, like, take care with institution, because I was applying in a normal institution, like in the Museum for Naturkunde in Berlin, and the person that was there for doing the paperwork and everything, I went there like, okay, we are going to apply for I am going to apply for this, and she was like, but you are hired by an ERC, so you cannot apply for another one. Like, what? Like, so I needed to explain, like, yes, I can apply. Yes, you need to give me this paper. Yes. So maybe if in the institution that you are, people are not used to apply for these things, maybe you need to teach them, like, okay, how to do the thing. So be prepared for, yeah. Or maybe Anne is saying, like, in Switzerland, you need to go 6 months in advance. That is crazy. I think, yeah, this is... Yeah, each place is different, so you need to fight your place. Like,
that sounds in line with Switzerland, though, I have to say. Alexandra, do you want to weigh in at all on that as well, or do you have
For me,
similar?
It was easy because I applied where I was already doing a postdoc. No, where I already had a fixed position, sorry. So I stayed in my lab. So it was, I knew that there was someone that could help at the institution, at the Museum of Natural History of Paris. So it was not so complicated to know where to apply. What was more complicated, but maybe it's France as well, and it's Paris especially, but Montpellier is the same. There is some... The thing is as well that you might become big because you are going to hire people, and so there's going to be a problem of space. And so for us, for example, it was the case we did not have enough space in the lab for so many new persons, and so this was a bit a shame, but we needed to be out of the rest of the lab. So whereas in France, usually we are several, there is not one PI with this group away, and this created a bit that in the lab, and it was a bit a shame, but except from the space problems, it was quite easy. So, but I think that we did not have everything, we did not have an order about 6 months in advance or everything, but I think very early is great as well, because it's where you can have as many presentations and exchanges and trainings as possible. So it's always good to start early. Even if you change institution, at least you will have had advices from another one, and you can also confront them to advices you will have from the second one if you change your mind. Or
Thank you. Nydia, can you see the next question there? Sorry, I've got so many things open here.
Yes. So the next question asks, if you're unsuccessful once, can you apply in future years? So anyone want to weigh in on that?
This is depending on how bad you were. So I have been told that normally they have very few ugly applications, or like 20% or something like that are really, really ugly. And these are the ones that they don't allow them to apply again. So if you take this job seriously, they should allow you to apply again. This means that you were not selected, but you were not taking this like, okay, sending whatever. If you send whatever, they're going to say like, ciao, next year you don't apply.
but it depends on the mark you have. So you can have A, B, or C. And so usually the ones that are going to the interview have had only A from the writing part. But then during the interview, you can also have A and B again. So you can have been to the interview and not be able to apply the year after, but you can apply the year after. So, well.
Okay, so 2 years. You would have to leave a year in between.
Sometimes, depending on your mark, it can be 1 year in between. It can be no year in between if you had
Okay.
A and A, but not selected. It can be 1 year, or it can be 2 years.
Okay.
You know anybody that was punished? Because I don't. I know people that apply it a lot of times, but not. And normally they say the average is 3, so the third time is the average, something like that. That is crazy.
But they say that some existed, but I have not seen these persons, so I don't know. They don't come to testify often.
Yeah, because I don't know nobody, so
Like
I don't know.
here, we have been
how
invited
bad.
because we got one, not because we did not got one and had to wait for 3 years. So I don't know.
I guess they're not going to make themselves really known either.
Yeah, but I, at the same time, we should don't be ashamed and don't think you should not
Yes,
apply. And even if you got to
exactly.
see it at the end of the year word, and maybe in 2 years you are going to do a fantastic application. So
That's it, exactly. There's a plethora of reasons as to why applications get certain marks or are unsuccessful. Maybe they just weren't supported correctly to begin with. So absolutely. That was a very good question, because in the sounds of it, it sounds quite, it really depends on the grade you get, really, where you are in terms of a status for the following times for applying. So taking that into account, it definitely sounds like, as you all said, just do it, go for it, you know, the moment you think that you have that plan ready.
And also, depending on where you are, how many years after the curriculum vitae, also, that's true that you should apply as soon as possible, because then you change categories as well. And you go from starting to consolidator. And it can be frightening as well to change categories. So sometimes it's true that you are more motivated because you know that the year after is going to be complicated. But in fact, people just say that they don't care how far you are and that they take that into account. So you should not be, even if you are an early consolidator, don't be afraid and still apply.
Okay, very sound advice. We have another question here from, sorry, I don't have a name, unfortunately, but it's, do you each have any specific advice for the interview stage? Do the questions and discussions focus on you as a researcher or the project itself? So, Anne-Claire, maybe do you have anything that you'd like to start that discussion?
Focus on both. So basically, you can have question on both. And as was saying Alexandra when she was talking earlier, So basically, they are starting with the question of the reviewer. So they are sending your project to 6 or 9 reviewers, so it depends. And they are picking different type of question. And you do end up, they start with the interview after that you are making your presentation with one of the reviewer noticed that, and they are asking the different type of question. And basically, it's about both. So that can be about your research career and the projects. And I was ending up writing all the questions that I had. And yeah, if anybody is interested, I can send you the list of questions for my preparation, but also the questions that I had during my interview. But it's a mix of everything.
Sarah or Alexander, do you wanna add to that as well, or it's both your experiences, I guess, as well, that it's.
I don't have any experience because I was in hard lockdown and they decided to review in the. So luckily, I was not in that. Yeah. So.
The only thing is that
Very unique experience.
They can ask you a question about you as a researcher, but they won't go into private life. So just don't be afraid of private life questions, things about being a mom and doing an ERC at the same time and stuff like that. They don't ask for that.
Okay, good to know.
Well,
Nydia?
generally, sorry,
Yeah.
I was gonna say from the diversity point of view, generally, if you're ever asked anything personal on an interview, just to let you know, at least in Europe and the UK, is not legal. So they cannot ask you anything about your personal life. You can say if you want, but they cannot take that into account at the time of making a decision of who they're going to recruit, having to do with funding or having to do with a job. So just for everyone to know.
Yeah, good point. Thank you, Nydia. This is a good question that's come in. For the submission, does paleontology go to the life sciences panels or the physical and engineering sciences panels, or does it depend on the content of the project?
Depend on the content, and also you can change. I have an experience here, a friend. I was life science, for instance, for you to know. And this is paleo with biogeography and things like that. And I have a friend that he was applying for the math in the math panel, and this was an algorithm for doing something with language. And he was rejected, and then changed the panel to linguistics, and they love it. So also you can play. If this is something very with different kind of approaches, you can go for other panel.
But so just for it to be clear, you choose the panel. It's not your project that is oriented afterwards. You select the panel you are going to be evaluated by. And some people think that sometimes you are in between two and you hesitate. And sometimes some ask for interdisciplinarity and to be evaluated by two, but it can be much more complex. And so they don't advise that. So try to be selective in one only.
And I'm presuming that's part of the application process is when you tell them which panel you want to be part of. Okay, just to clarify. Thank you. Nydia, do you want to take a question there from the Q&A?
So this next one is very interesting. I find it very interesting. So it says, you already supervise PhD students by the time you applied. At most, if not all universities, you need to have a permanent position to be an official co-supervisor of a PhD project, at least my experience. So do you mean that you were an unofficial supervisor / collaborator for these students, or were you already able to be an official supervisor? So anyone wants to weigh in on this?
This is depending on the country. And this is like, if you move countries, you will realize. I was in different countries. In Germany, for instance, it's super easy to ask for projects. They are swimming in money. And even if you don't have permanent positions, you can apply for money. Here in Spain, you cannot apply for money. You need a permanent position so you are not going to be PI of any project at all. But here in Spain, you can supervise. The moment you have a PhD, you can sign and you can be a supervisor of whatever person. So depending on the rules, really.
Yeah, Alexandra, please go.
So for me, it was I was applying in France, and in France, for example, if you want to supervise a PhD yourself, you need to have the habilitation. And so I did not have the habilitation when I applied. but I say to the ERC that I would try to get my habilitation before starting the grant if I get it, what I did. So it's okay to apply when you don't have it in the countries where you need it, and you can try to get it once you have your grant.
And I know that in Germany, I think they get the automatic habilitation if you have this kind of grants. So at least at some point, if you get this kind of cool positions, you have it. It's like automatic.
Yes, exactly. I'm based in Germany, and that is a problem where if we don't have the habilitation, we can't be an official supervisor of a PhD project, but we can by all means supervise projects, but we just can't be the named supervisor as the main person. So you come into problems, but I guess you can at least at somewhere in the application, or if you get to an interview stage, at least be able to express that you have supervised, just not maybe on an official paper document level, which I'm presuming will help at some point.
Yeah, I think I have students like that in Germany. Like I was supervising, but not official at all. So yeah.
So we'll move on to try the next question here, which is from Milan. Hi, everybody. What is the chance to get the grant? 30%, more or less? That is a very big question.
Less. So the year where I was applying, it was 7%. So it's more or less around 7 and 10%.
But as we were saying, like there are some percentage of people that do it not for real. So like maybe it's from the people that are doing it for real, it's a bit more percent. And again, do it if you think that you're at 10. Like not just for trying, not like, oh, I will send the papers. Like do it if you feel like this is it. And yeah.
And if you go through the second step, so through the step of the interview, it's nearly 40% of chance to get it.
Okay, that's good to know. So once you've got to the interview stage, you know that you've made it thus far. You've made it through a big wall already. Nidhi, do you want to take another question there from the Q&A?
Yeah, thank you. So the next one is an anonymous question. It says, a slightly more personal question. How did you feel when you were successful? And now that you have the job of hiring, and you now had the job of hiring the rest of your team, was it daunting or did you get lots of support? Anyone want to weigh in?
Start if you want. So for me, I was super excited when I got it, and then the nightmare started because basically, as I was saying, Switzerland was kicked out of the European Commission, and I was just getting a permanent position there. So that was a real nightmare for 4 or 5 months, where I was trying to deal between the University of Montpellier and the University of Bern to know how I can end up with my ERC, because I had to decline the ERC from the European Commission in order to get it into Switzerland. And yeah, now it was an horrible period of my life. I remember I was in the US ending up Zooming with the rector of the University of Montpellier in a shitty motel in Arizona, and trying to end up with an offer from them. They did offer me a professorship, which is basically a 5-year postdoc at the University of Montpellier, and I was just, come on. I have the choice between a permanent position in Switzerland and that, so it's better for me to decline the ERC, because in the long term, at least I have a permanent position in Switzerland. So yeah, basically it was a mix between being really excited and a real nightmare, because you have the feeling that you might lose months and months of work if you have to decline the grant and you do not end up with it in the other country where you are going. But then it was mostly a Princess Castle problem. So because ending up with a permanent position is something pretty cool. So you have the stability at the end, at least. But in most of the case, so if you have an ERC, then you can, I think, ask in a bunch of different type of place for a permanent position, and you can end up with a pretty good deal. So it's the best thing in your life that can happen, because you are in the best position to get a permanent position and to start a dream project. So yeah, it's supposed to be a nice experience.
Can I expand on that question? Would you say it is easier to get an ERC once you have a permanent position? Or would you say it's the other way around?
I think I'm not sure that there is statistic about it. So maybe it's easier to get an ERC when you have a permanent position in a way that you have more time and you can deal in a better way with your time. So you are not in a hurry as a postdoc where you need to deal with a lot of different type of things. So you can take the time for it. And especially if you are not working on your own project. So if you are working on the project of someone else, you need to write the project on your free time, meaning that it can start to be really complicated. So and we are going to what was saying Sarah, the work-life balance and avoiding the burnout is something that is pretty important. But yeah, and then it's something that we maybe do not know as a postdoc, but ending up with this type of project, you do end up as a leader and a manager. So I advise anybody to get training about it or to read book about it because it's a big change in your life. So you do end up not doing so much research anymore. You are doing research through your team. And then you mostly lead and manage the project. So you have to deal with people. And that not everybody is a good natural leader or manager. And some people might just have a burnout because of it. So it's the type of thing that you really need to be aware of it. And I think it's why it's important to have a little bit of supervision before to see if you like it or not, because it will be a big change in your life.
Yeah, I think we need another kind of this kind of things, but for PIs, like suggestions and how to handle all these things. But this is later. First you apply, and then you you think about the next thing. For me, it was a relief, like because I really wanted to go back to Spain, so this was my only chance. So it was a very nice feeling. Like, okay, let's do it. And as Saint-Clair is saying, like now I feel like I am the CEO of this company. So you need to see in advance what is now, like we are 10 people now, we need to apply for more money because so it's more about seeing the future, what we are doing, and before was like myself programming things and doing, it was different, so more different. Before the stress was because of the uncertainty, like I don't have money, I don't have a job, so this was stressful as hell. And now this part is settled, which is very nice. And now, yeah, the problem is how we manage to handle this group and how yeah, and what we are doing and all the and managing people. And here is like I am 100% with you. Like this is we need training, and because yeah, everything changed and it's a new perspective and nobody was teaching you anything about this. Yeah.
Touching on that, at least University of Manchester has a course through their research development team that it's a leading for research fellows. So other institutions might have something similar, which I find it very useful because, you know, we're usually thrown to manage people and to try to lead, and it's just a very difficult thing. And maybe this is a good point to advertise the PALAS Career Development Grant. So if you're thinking to put a big application for a fellowship, PALAS has grants that will support you while you write your application or while you finish papers or that. And I think the deadline is soon if you want to apply for that. I did
Yeah, it's
get
fast
one.
approaching. I think is it the 1st of March?
It might
Could
be the
be,
1st of March.
I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I will check that. But
Yeah.
it is fast approaching, and those career development grants are great, and it's to
Yeah.
really help booster if you need to get access to a bit of funding to help you sort of with the planning and preparation for these much larger grants. And I've also just taken note as well, the idea of maybe just doing a webinar based on managing a group, because as you said, it's a large transition from what you're doing previously to before, and you realize, yeah, that's probably something that not so many of us gets so much supervision or education on. So possibly another webinar just on that alone could be something that we can touch on. So another question that's come into the chat here is from Rock. To follow up on Anne-Claire, is it possible that PI is not 100% employed through ERC grant? Example, only 50% and managing a team of researchers employed via the grant?
You need to work at least at 50% on the project. I think it's the law, but maybe correct me if I'm wrong. Then you can be paid by your university. So basically, most of the time you have deal where you do not need to pay yourself. You just need to work at least a minimum of 50% on the project. And that's it. So basically, if you are already a permanent researcher, most of the time there is a deal with the university or the place where you are working, where they can give your salary, meaning that you can have more money to hire other people.
Yeah, in fact, you need to put you less than 100%. It's because if you need to teach or whatever, you cannot do anything else if you put you 100% in the project, meaning normally you put much less. And I don't remember the minimum also, but yeah, but you need to put your free time for whatever else you need to do. Yeah.
Alexandra, was it the same for you as well? Did you
They just advised us to, they told us that the minimum was 50, and they told us that they preferred above 60, but you need to be below 80, otherwise indeed it's impossible to do anything else. And you have to think that maybe today you don't care and you would like to be 100% on your project, but it's going to last for 5 years. And so you are not going to want to stay that, to not do any collaboration that is not going to be on your project in the future because it's not possible, or to go back to a subject you did before because you love it, or
apply for other projects, because
as well. It's true.
You need some percentage there.
And even just to be realistic, we do expertise jobs or stuff like that. And so it's not only about work, so it's impossible to do. So they said it's great to be between 60 and 80.
Yeah, and then the salary is a negotiation. You need to negotiate this with the institution if they're going to pay the rest with the overheads or whatever. So each institution is different, like how you pay the things. And normally I put my salary in the budget, and then the first thing that you do normally is remove the salary from the budget because the institution should pay or whatever. So this is a negotiation also. Yeah, who is paying your salary?
Thank you. Nydia, is there any other questions there in the chat?
No, that's it. We've covered all of them.
Okay. Does anybody else want to, if anyone else wants to add a few more questions, please do. I guess I've written down a few questions. I won't go through them all because we've had plenty and I'm sure everyone's quite tired at this point. But one of the questions I had from right at the beginning was, had you had any previous success with grants for postdocs and fellowships in the past that you think really helped you understand the grant application process, help you understand what you needed to do for a larger grant like the ERC? I guess that's to everybody. So whoever wants to answer.
Yeah, I had success with one foundation in France, and I've got 2 Marie Curie fellowships too. And after a while, other type of grant, but for which you do not need to write a project, such as the Ramon Caral, where it's mostly your CV and other type of thing. But yeah, no, it's I think it's helping to already have success with the European grants, because there is a lot of things that they are asking that are the same. So you get used to what they want, even if this is changing from one year to another, it's still going in the same line. But then it's a way more work an ERC than a Marie Curie.
Thank you, Anne-Claire. And And I guess the same question for the other two as well, Sarah,
Yeah,
Alexandra.
I think I was old when I was applying this, so yes, I have some postdocs, Spanish ones and also German ones like the Humboldt and these things. And also I was applying for a lot of things that were unsuccessful. So yeah, more or less I guess all of you also the job. And also I was doing this kind of seminar with about ERCs, and it was this person that asked for the ERC just right after finishing the PhD. So and he got it. So even if you don't have experience, it's okay if you take this seriously and you do the job and everything. And I think he was publishing one paper alone just for showing that I can do this. So this was his way. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and nothing to add. It's the same. I had to apply before, and probably it helps. But I agree that you should try. And we have so many possibilities of advices with the trainings that probably even if you don't have experience, you can improve. And after you can also, what is great is that usually, I don't know, it depends on countries. I know at least 3 countries doing that, but you really have people that agree to read your application. And so they can also tell you if it's very far away from what seems to be the norm. And so, but if you do all trainings, even without great experience, you might just manage to do it right.
There was a web page, at least in the Spanish node, with ERC applications that were successful with the PhD, the PDFs, sorry, of these applications. So check for that. I will try now to check it and put it in the chat or something, okay? But you can check also successful applications to check the standards and the language and the structure and everything.
That sounds great. That would be great if you could find it, but don't worry if you can't. Well, hopefully the internet will provide. But we do have another question that's just popped up here. What proportion of your grants did you lose to university overheads?
It depends from one university to another. So that it's really different from one university to another and one country to another. So you need to ask.
I guess that's something you can ask in advance while you're negotiating with the universities you want to, or institutions that you want to apply with.
Yeah, most of the time you have one part of your overhead that is going to pay the people that are helping you with the administration and applying to the project. But then you are still getting a lot of money for the overhead.
Also, something else universities might get out of your grant is the employees' national insurance. At least in the UK, that's something that happens. So I think that's 13%, and that also comes out of your salary.
Mm-hmm. Here in my university is 25%. But then also, this is a negotiation, they can give you back part of this. And this is depending on where you are. In the Museum von Naturkunde in Berlin, the negotiation where they were going to pay my salary with these overheads done, and I think I didn't get anything else. And here in Vigo, they give me, I think, 2/3 back. So this is a lot. And the salary is for another place, so it's not the overheads. So this is a very nice, depending on the place. So small places are going to be more generous. Big places with a lot of people, they don't care. So, yeah.
Thank you. I guess I'm going to try and start to wrap up this really nice discussion, because I've kept all three of you probably for long enough this evening. I just have 2 last questions. Firstly, was there anything in the overall application process with your institution or anything like that you felt that was completely unexpected, like the curveball that was thrown at you? I think I'll use Anne-Claire for an example here, where you had a large curveball, really unexpected, come down, and you've managed to get through that. But was there anything that really surprised you about the process that you hadn't prepared or expected along that journey? you feel like your applications, I guess, I mean, you all had much experience with postdoc applications in the past, so you had probably enough curveballs thrown at you already at that point.
For me, the unexpected was the easy. Like things were super easy, super smooth. You can do whatever. I was used to no, so yeah. With this is like you can do whatever, and yeah, and you can ask for things, and you can negotiate things. This was the unexpected. Like okay, yeah.
Yeah, the things to do that. Oh, sorry, go for it, Alexandra.
Go ahead, good.
So you are dealing with human. So basically, even from the European Commission, you can talk with them, and they really understand you and what you are doing, and they give you time. So don't be afraid. You are not dealing with robot or other type of thing. You can still talk with them.
Yeah,
Very
and I
good
just
to know.
wanted to add something about the interview. Is that you have your interview that is going to be in Brussels. It's not, if nothing has changed. And in fact, for example, for me coming from France, we sometimes have strikes, and I was very stressed about being late because of my train. And in fact, if you just say it, because they offer the night when you are very early in the morning. I was not very early in the morning, but I was still in the late morning. And so I asked if I could still have the night because I would feel really stressed otherwise. And they accepted it as well. So don't dare, but you can dare to ask for things to just feel good during the interview as well.
That's a very important point. Based on the UK and German train services, for example, it's a good thing to know and to note. So one final question, unless anything comes into the Q&A there, which is, what is the sort of one piece of kind of resounding advice that you would give your past self about applying to this grant that you think is really important for, especially attendees here, that I'm sure there'll be plenty of people here that were seeking to apply to this grant or might be in the midst of preparing one for the future?
I would say go. Like don't just that. Like yeah. Allow yourself, go and
take it seriously.
Yeah, if you have a dream project, just go for it, and don't be shy with the budget. They won't cut it. So ask the maximum.
Yeah. For me, I was very frustrated because I was so sure I would not get it that I did not ask for the maximum, and I should have.
So go for it, be intent and serious about your project, but go for your dream application project and just run with it. It's sound advice. So I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you to, again, to all three of you, all three panelists for being here today. Really appreciate all your really genuine advice and experience. I really appreciate it, and touching on applications that were rejected and touching on applications you've had in the past. Something that comes up over and over again in these webinars is things like, don't be scared to reach out to others. Getting those applications read by other supervisors and mentors, I think, is really important. So I guess if there's any other feedback on this webinar, after this webinar finishes, you should get a survey. Feel free to give some advice on maybe future webinars that people want to see. In the meantime, I'll leave it there. Thank you so much again. And thank you to all the participants and all the attendees that have stuck it out till the end. So from myself and Nydia, we will see you at next week's PALAS webinar. We have another postdoc fundings chat that is on the Royal Society Newton International Fellowship. So same time, same place. Stay tuned for that. And we will see you then. So thank you all again so much. Take care and have a good evening. Bye, guys.